K. Second part, the projection mapping aspect. We talked about the philosophy of projection mapping, maybe as it resonates, according to McLuhan in his tetrad, in the original campfire thing, as savanna hominids were staring into the fire, fearful of nature, looking to a communality, the faces we see in the fire, looking to one person to embody the storytelling, the knowledge, the memory into greater effect. Projection mapping, though, this new thing. I have let me try and reduce it down into this. Oh, let me float my image across the top. And let's, sorry. Zoom out. Zoom out a little more. No, that's fine. No, a little more. Zoom out. There we go. This is another projection mapping project for a gig. Let's see, we can do format, we can do animate, you can add an effect through Keynote or PowerPoint. This creates rectangles, some shapes. This is fine enough for you. Here's using abstract textures. We projected this in an environment. Let's go. Let's see what it is. Can we play that? No, it plays up. Yes. You only see a part of this image. I hit the others. It moves. And that's basically it. Can I play this? Animate. Animate. No, I have issues with the amount of real estate I'm dealing with to show you different items, but this is what I wanted out of your texture prints, your texture examples. This was across a facade of a building. This was inside of a space. Play that. We can add these movies to outside, inside, wherever. Again, play that. This is meant to be abstract, sort of remix culture from online, copyright free stuff, weird stuff, focusing in on stuff, devising our own music in QuickTime also. And this was part of a gig. So let's go to Art Tech House, which I'm familiar with these guys. Let's create a new Art Tech House. And Home for Innovative Experimental Art, maybe. So this is a room, a space. Let's zoom in. That is fully immersive. Washington, New York, Miami. I think one's opening up in LA. There's Meow Wolf in Denver and Santa Fe. Let's see what they do to project against a whole environment. Life of a Neuron is on now. Do we have films from that? Here are the examples created from their $2-3 million system. Infinite Space, as seen in CNN, Washington Post, BBC, Nat Geo. If you have a chance to get to the one in New York City, is in Chelsea Market. Afro Frequencies, multi-century immersion, buy tickets. These are the images of this. They're meant to be gripping. Not only are they projected against an architectural landscape. These are in immersive environments. We're talking to these people now about starting something, continuing something again, maybe with this. That's the one in Washington. It's kind of tucked away into a corner. I wish there were more YouTube, art. Oops, here we go. Art tech. House. Life of a Neuron. Takes us back to here. Life of a Neuron. It was sort of interesting. You can see this now. And look at how it's seamlessly projected across the floor. Celestial, what did I see? Art Tech House in Peak Bloom, Life of a Neuron. Let's just see what they got for images. If you want to complete an original film of what you would like to projection map, let me know. Our ultimate stage environment will be spatial I/O, playing with the larger concepts of synchronous, asynchronous. You can put all this into the McLuhan tetrad and try and understand what is really going on here. What is it advance? What is it reverse? Our tech house. This is the one in New York City, I think. You enter by that door. There's a back in Washington. That has a balcony above looking down at the action. I was at a concert there in Washington. I haven't been to the one in Miami. Cherries in Blossom. But where's the projection on the floor? The floor is... yes. All right, let's back up. That was Cherries in Blossom, Artec Renewal. 4, 3, 2, 1. Just showing you all of these in the loop. So it's an environment, like we said in the tetrad before, about confusing or blending reality from illusion. This gives the illusion that we're in this immersive environment. All four walls have this projection. The floor also has it. The ceiling is left for projectors, ultra short throws. Interactive things such as this. Renewal 2121, Tour, Artec House, Celestial. Let's back up on that one. Notice here, people get to hang around this. It's a highly Instagrammable space. And the projectors are in tune with where the vertical hits the horizontal. Again, we have these structural pillars in the space. Those sort of go out of focus. You don't attend to those. And this is the idea of projection mapping on an interior. Very beautiful, very compelling. Watch how these things overlay each other, vertical to horizontal. People just sitting around with their dates, looking at this thing. Begs the question, are these just pretty pictures, eye candy, stuff like that? We don't know. It is compelling. It is strong. It's compelling. Let's go on. What's going on is Afro Frequencies in Washington, Life of a Neuron, and Renewal in Miami Beach. And these are some of the images of this. So let's go on to projection mapping on YouTube. Let's the programs you have. Map is a program you can use, libraries, so forth. Let's back up. Let's get rid of that. Right here, let's go beyond this. This is Touch Designer. Let's see examples. I sent this to you, gentlemen. This is the most famous TED Talk on projection mapping by this Australian guy. Having this interactive, this idea that we can now use facades of public buildings as places of projection is brand spanking new. This is a function of the economics of projected media. So this guy has all of this eye candy stuff going on, devising these very complicated, specific structures to hit, which you can do in MadMapper, Resolume, Arena, and Avenue. These programs have expanded, exploded. They're all about. Okay, here he goes with the Sydney Opera House. I think. Let's see it. Which in this TED Talk he talks about throwing open the class space as an immersive environment. Very, very different. Let's find here's the final on that. Those projected irregular shapes. Little bit constipated for me, but. Did he actually do? Yeah, here's his work with a facade, finger painted on this facade as if big hands were going over this, using the natural boundaries. As we saw in our whole concept of composition, you have offstage, you have onstage. These are fun. It's a fun sort of medium. I tend to shy away from, here's projection map on a face. I should find that too. On leaves, I'm trying to work out projection map with infrared camera, so it's real-time projection mapping. What's his little diagram? Let's do YouTube. So it's not just facades, it's the face. Projection map on a face on YouTube. Nope, sorry. Yeah. This was the spooky one. Here's a commercial. Motion graphics, all of that stuff. So interrelated. We have these real-time things that you find in the filters for your cameras and so forth. But yes, the Kinect is what I had and used, and it was wonderful for establishing point clouds. And this is a projection map on this face. She's dead still. She has certain points mapped on her cheeks and so forth to hit this surface. Here's the making up of the face. So again, this is to point out you don't always need to use a facade of a building. We have the Art Tech House inside a room. We have this on a face. We have the others on cathedrals and so forth. And then we have let's see what we do with her face. We have the infrared tracking, which we have, complicated thing, finding the point clouds, finding where she is in a space, and here she is with the same projection. A little more expertise than what I can do with my setup, or even want to. But there it is, projection mapping on anything, hitting any surface. It's dark in the space, so you don't need to compete. Um, let's go out of here. Um, back up. Um, tech house. Let's go further. Let's do. Here is a big-ish building. Now, all of these things are being done in China, Korea, less so Japan, but Koreans are very big into this. Projection mapping. This is, again, striking. Hits you in the gut. Is it tasteful? Is it over the top? Is it serene? Is it, I mean, it's compelling. Look at that. But this tends to be gimmicky eye candy, but nice gimmicky eye candy in the space. This complete, I think this is an LCD space, so it's beyond projections. But now, as I said, projectors are relatively inexpensive. This is part of the whole. Welcome to, I think this is in Seoul. Architecture as a facade becomes any sort of projection environment. Let's move on. That was this one. Let's see this. I like this screen. I think it's about a $1,200 screen, that. But okay, let's go on. Projects. What do we got? Featured projects. These are really big scale things on huge buildings in Vegas, Tropicana, Jeep Dome. I'm trying to project in domes, looking at lenses. Again, this is an aspect of what I do. This is technology and performance. This is introduction to theatrical, spectacular, immersive design. What's in Miami Dome? Let's see what happens when they're projected in a dome. Here it is, the dome, Miami. What we did, 2019. This is the dome. Video recap. I don't think they have recap. They have a gallery, so it ends up being spectacular with these lenses. Expensive, I think I've attempted to do this with cheaper lenses and so forth, but let's go onward. Trying to find Ford. This is we'll play after that. Okay. This is about 10 years ago. It's from the Creators Project. Some very, very precise projection mapping. Moving objects, it was not done with the IR camera. So all of this is projector mapped on surfaces. It's actually being moved by an automatic arm. And there's no post-production. All of this is real time. So the arm of the robot creates this illusion. The projection mapping takes over. The timing between the robotic arm and the AI on the projection is incredible. Levitation. Two of these put side by side. This is not post-production. It is what people can do calibrating these things that happen. Intersection. What's this about? Okay. Creating these. This is just amazing stuff. You take robotic arms, ubiquitous robotic arms you use for manufacturing of automobiles, and you portray them this way. Very creative. Not exactly so it's amazing what is going inside these, so forth. Excellent. let's go on. I hope this gives you an idea of what, in that lengthy pedagogical description of why we projection map, this is more of the how to, what is out there, what people, oh, this is very interesting. This is very new. I think it's China or Korea. This billboard, either way. I hope this class gives you indication of what the markets are for these skills you might develop in this area. What else about this? What brand new visualization is going on in Singapore? I taught a class, Introduction to Interactive Public Art, which was part of this stuff. Is it interactive? We have that billboard in Times Square that picked out faces, and you could, the AI would just pick out faces for this, and then you'd see yourself bold on this sort of simple interaction. This is part of that, not quite interactive, but pretty kick in the teeth. Here's should be another sequence of this. Drink your mushroom coffee, yes, kombucha. All right, here's Jane Pauley talking about the new arts of projection mapping. So let's find out what those are in the urban setting. You have your old revered buildings, and then they become these canvases for projection mapping. You can photogrammetrically record them, and then they do things like this. People make careers out of this. All right, look, we don't have the sound up. That's not important. Let's just see what happens. To me, I'm not into this tricky illusion type effect. I think it's stiff and constipated and nerdy. I'm more interested in a dialogue, social, psychological dialogue with the city. But this does create the hit in the gut factor. You take facades like this. I think this is London, and you work out these spatial illusions meant to be perceived from different angles. They're stunning. They're beautiful. They make people stop. They make people wonder what's going on. He tends to make these scale models of it to try and using AI. With the scale models, he builds up these ideas, has a degree of AI on the programs. Here we are in our using our handles for touch, for VR, the HTC Vive and all of that. What's coming up with the trees, any big objects? Yes. And moving on. I hope this sets some gears turning. You might have seen this before. What kind of further public dialogues could we have with this? Certainly you can have commercial dialogues. To me, this eye candy stuff already relates to the notion of our public space inhabited by useless commercial information. Buy this car, do this, don't do this, driving up 95, weight loss, this, that, and the other. Our precious public space have been inhabited by these commercial psychological incentives to sell you stuff. Here is an interesting take. I suppose they don't want public distraction. I guess there are new laws about the use of this in public spaces. Here, the high lumen, it gets up to now 40,000 lumen. That is big. You can compete with any ambient light in these spaces. brand new technology, new markets, new jobs, new forms, new ways of doing things, projection mapping, and so on and so forth. Let's just see a couple more. Let's check this out. Oh, this is the curved surface, which gives a very unique idea of corners and surfaces. I think this is in a town in China. Of course, from where you're positioned, this looks as if it's extending out, but I guess the optimal position is skew to this, bisecting this convex form for the more perfect angles. This is not projected, this is LCD. But it's kind of amazing. The slick, I tend to avoid the slickness of all of these, just glassy dudes doing their thing. Why? I don't know. It's inoffensive, it's gimmicky. It tends to create this distractive environment. Moving further. Might be more of these. Pivotal tree, yes. There's something with a message about nature. Yes. So they're using all this technology to talk about nature. As you can see, the sun setting and it's reflecting the kind of color of the sky behind, which is interesting. That it responds to the surfaces behind. It's in Korea, probably Seoul. Haven't seen this in all my trips to Seoul, but very, very, very compelling. Just a couple more, gang. Okay. Oh yeah, here are the facades. It's on a building. Stars going on a big building in Barcelona, enhancing the older architecture of the setting here. And yeah, it's compelling. Again, using the facade as a palette. I'm not advising this in the 100 level class, but if you have a curiosity for this, there are always free versions with the watermark in front that you could attempt and try this out. Whatever inspires you. It's the challenge of teaching in a college today is that I can be your midwife. There's just so much out there now. There's so many ways to become a Swiss Army knife. Don't drink the Kool-Aid that you have to specialize. You have to be adept. But to specialize in something that might go away in 5 years is not a very wise choice. So I'm giving you the tools. As a midwife, an editor, a person who shows you these things, maybe, I want you to be inspired and fill in your inspiration in that. You turn to me and say, that's not what I want to be when I grow up. It looks too complicated. Give it a try. Give it a sort of a response, a try of playing with things like this. Very rigid, but this is a dialogue with a facade in Barcelona. I think this is extremely interesting. Opens up a temporal nature of what we do nowadays, creating illusions. It is an extension of that original campfire that I mentioned. Scared hominid staring at the fire thinking of new worlds, thinking of why the other big cats and dogs might be scared of this thing. Um, and what sort of stories can you tell around this? This is, see all the people in the public there watching these forms, and it becomes a dialogue, a reinvested dialogue with the city, created by new technologies. So this is a brand spanking new thing in the history of the world. This ability to project with high lumen projectors on an environment, to turn and mathematically respond to certain things using AI in this, using, as in the Korean structure, using LEDs, tiny little bulbs for these projections. That has come down a lot in price. This is extremely interesting to me. Let's stop that and play another one as an open. Let's go for the. What is this? Spreadsheets. Yes, everyone needs them. Immersive experiences, interactive floor projection. This is using the IR camera like the Kinect to have people compete. As you can see, they're competing with pure daylight. This is a different variation on that projected environment. Little fishies, little things, little AI things swimming around, and the way that AI is responding to you. The infrared camera above is creating a point cloud. These were very popular in the form of those little soccer games in malls. Those things are quite expensive, like $100K each. But basically, it's 2 or 3K of materials to make this. The software is the expensive part. So that is the boots on the ground world, along with the philosophical world of projection mapping. Oh, here's that space again, in another space in Europe. This tends to be kitschy for me. We talked about kitsch often. There are optimal places right on the bisection of the angle there in the architecture, but it does create different environments to portray our world. Again, here it is. I find this interesting to look for the optimal space to give an almost holographic sort of feeling to these spaces. There we have it. Work on your files for projection mapping, and we shall see you soon. Bye bye.